So good evening, and Parashat Hashavua, Parashat Vaera. What is Vaera? Vaera means I revealed, I think, we can say. I revealed myself to our fathers. Avraham, you have some other explanation to Vaera? No, it looked like you have some. Vaera means I was seen by our fathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And this is the answer that God answering Moshe about the question that Moshe asked God last week in the end of the parasha. Moshe asking God, why are you not hearing the suffering of the Jewish nation? Why is that they are still suffering from Paro in Egypt? And God telling Moshe, I know the situation. I know the Jewish people are suffering there. I know what Paro doing to them. And I revealed myself to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov in one name, and to you I will reveal myself in a new name. This is a little bit, we can call it Kabbalic for Elena. It's a little bit Kabbalistic part in the Torah. God answering Moshe, I talked with the fathers, and I'm talking to you. I have an echo? Yes? Why is that? You don't hear me well, or it's
I think it's like a double. Maybe from another computer.
I will mute everyone. I will see if it's working still. Okay?
It's now okay.
It's now okay?
Yeah, for me it's okay.
Okay, may I continue or?
No.
It
It came back.
so maybe I need to be close. Now it's okay? No. So what can we do? Let's try to mute and see if it's still on. Now I have echo? No, I don't. May I continue? Okay. So you don't have questions today. Okay. So God telling Moshe, until now I spoke to the fathers with name Shin Daled Yud. We call it Shakai. And this name, it's one thing, one kind of revelation that God revealing himself to the fathers. To you, I'm speaking with a different name. I'm revealing myself in a different way. What God trying to tell Moshe in that part? God telling Moshe that there is many kinds of God, how he revealed himself in the world. And the way that he was revealing himself to the fathers was in a way that he promised a lot of promises, but they didn't live to see all the promises. This is kind of revealing that the world is not enough. The world is not enough to accept everything. But to you, I'm speaking in a different way. In the name that actually we using until today. This is the name that it means that you will live to see all the promises that I'm telling you. This is what God telling Moshe, and He telling him it's a all different way of experiencing God. You will experience everything that I'm promised to the Jewish people. Now go back to Paro, tell him that he needs to take the Jewish people out of Egypt. What I wanted to add here in these explanations about the names is two things. First of all, this is what the Torah is saying. So, second of all, I want to understand that we will learn from it what it means names. Name of God means every name is the way that I'm revealing myself. For example, here I can be Michi, and in America I can be Michael, and in a more Soviet place I can be Mikhail, and name is a way to reveal myself. In the other hand, when I'm saying Michi, I mean all of me. I don't mean my head, my hands, I mean all of me. So it has this, from one hand, it's how I presenting myself. In the other hand, is myself. It's me. It's not, you're not talking to one part of me. So this is when we praying to God, we're saying His name. His name is a way that God revealing Himself. That's why God have many names, because God have many types of ways that He can reveal Himself. This is one thing that I want to learn from it. And another thing is that God started from the time of Moshe, the time of Moses, God started new way of revealing Himself. New way. A way that was not in the time of the fathers. And this is what I want to talk about today, in our parasha. Okay. Moshe going to Paro, and there he presenting Paro the proof that he is a messenger of God. And before God telling Moshe, you will see Paro will not believe you. He will not believe you, and I will give, and I don't know how to say the word, I will give 10 plagues to the Egyptians. Yes, the 10 makot, aseret makot, 10 plagues, until they will let the Jewish people out. But God wants from the beginning to give 10 plagues on the Egyptian. And the question is why? Why we need 10? Even if we would say that God wants to punish the Egyptians. Okay? As many commentaries explain, that because they were they were sinners, and they did very, very much more than they supposed to. I mean, the Jewish people were refugees there, and they were sinners, and they needed to be punished. But God can punish them in one way. One big plague. Why you need to do it 10 plagues? What is so special about 10? What do you want to prove there? By the way, there is another interesting question. The Rambam asking in his book, how come we find that God promising Abraham 200 years before the Jewish people came to Egypt, God promising Abraham that his grandsons will live in foreign country, and they will suffer. Yes, he promising that, and in the end, God punishing the Egyptian. If you promise, it means that was your plan. Yes. That was your plan, to take him to Egypt, and they will suffer. and then you're punishing them. It's something here is not right. And the Rambam giving a very nice, a very interesting. There is many. It's one of the most strong question in the Jewish philosophy. It's not only specific about the story of Egypt. It's a story about life. Everything we say that God planning, and then He can punish, and how it's working. So the Rambam telling about the story of Egypt, an answer that God told Abraham that his grandsons will be living in foreign country, in country that they will not fit in. That they will suffer, it's already statistics. Until today, but especially in that time, group of people that are living separate and have their own way of life, and they're living in an advanced country, as Egypt in that time, they will suffer. Why? Statistics. It's not the Rabbi. I read that the Rabbi saying about that. It's not it's even we don't need to say that this is a prophecy. God, it show Abraham the numbers. This is what will happen, because statistically, when those group of people will live in that place, this will happen. So if we saying about a class that 80% of the class will get less than 90% in the test, so it means that every child can say, what do you want? 80% will get less from, so it's not a prophecy. You can choose to be from the 20% that getting more than 80% in the test. So it's the same thing in Egypt. Not every Egyptian can say, what do you want? God promised. No. He said that statistically that will happen. You can choose not to be from the group of people that making the Jewish people suffer. This was by the way. Okay. So Moshe showing Paro the miracle, and it's very interesting miracle. He throwing his Aaron, actually, not Moshe. He's a messenger of Moshe. He's throwing his, how we call it, a stick, and it turning into a snake. And all the Egyptian wizards, I don't know how to call it, also throwing their sticks, and it's all becoming like snakes. So the snake of Aharon killing and eating the snakes of all the other, I don't know how to call it, wizard.
There is no snake actually that sticks.
What are you saying?
There is not Aaron snake. These are snakes. The stick.
You're right. The Torah said that Aaron threw his stick, it was turning to snake, and then Aaron's stick ate all the other snakes. So Rashi learned from it, Aaron's sticks as a stick was eating them, not as a snake. And it's very interesting way to learn the words of the Torah. Very nice. And of course there is many explanation why Aaron's stick needed as a stick to eat them, not as a snake. Everything have explanations, but not today. Okay. And then God starting with the 10 plagues. In our parasha we're learning about 7 plagues in our parasha. First one is the blood. For 7 days there was all the waters of Egypt become blood, with blood. After 1 week, and also the same thing in the first 2 plagues, the wizards of Paro managed to do the same thing, to show the same powers. We know that they had powers. And so Paro is not so terrified from those 2 plagues, the plague of blood and then the plague of frog. All the frogs came to one place, to Egypt, and actually it's very strange plagues. We can talk about it maybe next week. We will talk about all the plagues. After that came the 3rd plague. You know how to call it in English? I don't know exactly. 1 second. No, the animals is the fourth one. The 3rd one is the... Oh my. 1 second. It's a plague with all the small, tiny things that you have in the... How it's called?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but you're talking about fleas. Yeah, they are fleas. Yeah.
Yes?
Biting and little like unpleasant things. Yeah.
Okay. So, yes, that was the third plague. How you say it in English? Flea.
Like little insect which is like, sort of.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, flea. Like
Flea.
markets. Flea markets where people sell like old stuff. So flea. This is the word for those.
Okay. It's what the children have in the kindergarten. They coming with it's the lice, I think it's called lice, no?
Well, fleas.
Okay. This is the first 3 plagues. After that we have the animals, all the animals coming after, and eating and killing and a lot of destruction. From the 4th plague, we had very strong differences. That from the 4th plague, only the Egyptians suffered from the plagues. The first 3 was according to many opinions, and that's what is regularly in the Torah. If you read the Torah, that's what you understand in the literal explanation, that the first 3 plagues was for all of them, also the Jewish people. Then was the plague for the animals. Again, many of the animals died. And then this was the 5th, and the 6th one was like plague in the body of the Egyptians. How it's called, boils.
It was some dust or what was?
It came from dust. Moshe threw to the air dust, and everybody had this, I think in English we can call it scabies. Yes?
I don't know.
I think.
Inflammation, like the
Inf-
story I have read but a long time ago, like inflammation, something like
this is what, yes. But yes, in Hebrew there is words from the sickness. Okay, inflammation, it's what happening. Yes. And then the seventh plague was the barad. Barad, it's the ice that came from
Ice balls.
yes, very big ones. And in the ice was miracle that in the ice was fire. In the ice was fire. And this is third group of plagues. This is the seventh plague. The seventh plague, the ice, is third group of plagues that it was totally unnatural. The ice was with fire inside. The eighth plague was
No, just it is called ice. I know what it is. It is called actually hailstones.
hailstones. Yes, yes. What do you mean? The
What you describe is actually the right word for it. It's hailstones.
yeah.
Hailstones.
I think regular ice. It's called hail. No.
Hailstones.
It's called. I think also. Oh, I understand. Okay.
What's the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, but hailstones.
Okay. My English is, it's need very, very. You need to listen very carefully to understand.
I don't want to correct. I hate to be like Reverend. Sometimes more understand.
That's why my English not getting better, because no one correcting me.
No, I just lived, most of my life
Yeah.
with an personalized.
I want to point out that the first three plagues were to Egyptian and to Jews, and the second three plagues were there was separation, and the third three plagues, that this is the hail balls, and after that came the plague that now again I need to check. It's called a lot of how you call it? Graspers. All the graspers came and ate everything in Egypt, and the Egyptians tried to save them. Because there were so many, they tried to save them, to eat them, but they all died. This was the difference between, we had three plagues that came, living things came to Egypt. The first plague was the frog, the second plague was the animals, and the third plague was the graspers. The frog stayed in Egypt. Why? Because it becomes smelly. In all Egypt it becomes smelly. The animals ran out from Egypt because they can eat them, they can do business with them. And the same thing with the graspers, they also went away. And after that become the plague of dark. About dark and graspers, and the last plague, the plague of firstborn, we will learn next week, but I'm telling this today because that we will have complete picture. The dark was, of course, unnatural dark, and then the plague of firstborn. Okay? Now I have two things that I want to point out. We saying in Leila Seder, in the night of the Seder, of the night of Pesach, we're talking about those things. The night of Pesach, we're reading a lot of things from our sages in the time of the Mishnah, in the time of the Talmud. And one of the sages, and we're reading it in the night of Pesach, saying that Rabban Gamliel Omer. No, not Rabban Gamliel Omer. Rabbi Yehuda said that he would give the 10 plagues of Egypt simanim. He would giving them signs. Usually, we're giving signs to remember. So what was his signs? Initials. Datzach. Datzach is Dam, Tzfardea, Kinim. That those are the 3 first plagues. Adash is the second. It's initials of the animals death and the inflammation. And Ba'achab is the last 4 plagues. And many asking about that. What's so special about those initials? I mean, we can all give initials. So there is many answers for that, Some commentaries saying that he said that he will remember the order of the plagues, that he will not mix the order, and why we would mix the order. So a commentary saying that we would mix the order because in Tehillim there is the 10 plagues in a different order. But it's very, very interesting explanation that we will learn today, and it will answer also what's so special about what Rabbi Yehuda said, that Datzach, Adash, Ba'achab. What's so special? Second thing that I want to point is that in the Torah, after every Makkah, after every plague that Moshe gave to the Egyptians, from the 3rd plague on, Paro came to Moshe and told them, stop, please stop, we cannot handle it. And Moshe was praying, God stopped, and then after 1 week came again. Paro refused to send the Jewish people, and he gave the plague again, the next plague. But there is 3 plagues that after Moshe telling Paro, no problem, I will stop the plague, Moshe telling Paro, I will stop the plague because you should know that there is no one like God. Only 3 plagues. Which one? The 3rd one, the 6th one, the 1st one, the 4th one, and the 8th one. The blood, the animals that came to Egypt, and the 8th one is the ice. And the question is why? So you already see that there is here 3 groups, and I said it from the beginning. Even though in the Torah there is no differences, but from 2 reasons we see that there is 2 groups. First reason is what Rabbi Yehuda said. Rabbi Yehuda was giving signs, Datzach, 1 group, Adash, 2nd group, Ba'achab, 3rd group. So what Rabbi Yehuda came to tell us that there is 3 kind of plagues, 3 groups. And because we see from the words that every new group, Moshe told Paro, you would know now there is no one like God, means that in that group Moshe wanted to show Paro new things about God. And before we will explain what Moshe told Paro, what he teach Paro, we should understand a little bit the situation, what's going on. We are in the time that all the Jewish people in Egypt, God sending Moshe, the first leader of the Jewish nation, is sending Moshe to Paro, and he's sending Moshe with the knowledge that Paro will not send the Jewish people right away. So why is he sending him? Because he wants Moshe to have this argument with Paro and to give the 10 plagues. The Jewish people there then in time before the giving of the Torah. So it was a preparation for the world and for the Jewish people to giving of the Torah. What is the giving of the Torah according to the Jewish, according to Hasidut? What is the giving of the Torah? We already learned for more than once that our fathers observe all the Torah. They knew, even though maybe they didn't observe everything, but they knew. They knew the Torah. And we spoke about it, that even Noach knew the Torah, Abraham, Yitzchak. So what was so special about giving the Torah? If our fathers knew, what was so special? So according to Hasidut, of course, before Hasidut, in the time of giving of the Torah, God not only encouraged people to do Torah, He told the Jewish people, you must do it if you want to be my partners, if you want to be my nation. This is my law, this is my requirements. This is what happened in Matan Torah. But according to Hasidut, what happened in Matan Torah was much more than that. Much more than that. Before Matan Torah, our fathers did learn Torah and did mitzvot. But there is the famous example that Yaakov was able to put on tefillin and to throw the tefillin after that to the garbage. Why? Because the tefillin was not holy. Why the tefillin was not holy? Because the world was not holy. What happened in Matan Torah is that God, we read in the Torah saying very clear that God was in the cloud on the mountain, and Moshe was going up into the cloud. What does that mean? It means that was a connection. God went down, Moshe went up. That was a connection. What is the nature of that connection? The nature of that connection is that God did something new in the world. The world is able world as a physical world is able to be unite with the spiritual world. And the spiritual can be unite with the physical. The spiritual world came down, the physical world went a little bit up. This is what happened in Matan Torah. That's why we can take tefillin and make it holy. And before Matan Torah, even Moshe was not able to do it. Because the world and spirituality was not there yet. They were not in that stage. That's why the Matan Torah is the birth of the Jewish nation. The birth of the Jewish nation means that the Jewish people and all humankind, in some level, can take something physical and to turn it to something that has spirituality inside it, means that it become holy, it become unpure. It's only if a human, that the human have control on spirituality and and the physic world, is something that happened in Matan Torah. That's why every deed that we're doing today is much more powerful than deeds that happened before Matan Torah. Now that we understood what happened in Matan Torah, we can start to understand a little bit what happened with the 10 plagues. In the 10 plagues, God wanted to prepare the world to Matan Torah. Not only that, the preparation of the world to Matan Torah started many years before. It started with the flood. If you remember, in the story of Noah, we mentioned what was special about the, how you say it in English, the rainbow. What was special about the rainbow? I think Lina asked, what was special about the rainbow? And I told her that there is explanation that rainbow happened from the when there is no clouds, when there is a connection between heaven and earth. And before Noah, it was always cloudy. There was no connection. Why? Because spirituality and physically was totally separate. After that came the time of Abraham. Abraham was already started the connection, because people in the head could understand there is only one God. It started in the time of Abraham and the time of beginning of connection between spirituality and physical world. And Abraham had one mitzvah that God specifically asked him to do, the mitzvah of Brit, of circumcision. In one thing, Abraham was like after Matan Torah. And now we come to the final step before that, we making the world prepared to Matan Torah. What is it, that step? The step is the 10 plagues. When Moshe meeting Paro in the first time, Paro telling Moshe, who is that God that you're talking about? Never heard about him. And then he telling that in various ways. 3 times he telling Moshe that he don't recognize the powers of that God. And one of the commentaries explaining, very beautiful explanation, that Paro was basically arguing with Moshe. First of all, there is no God. And if there is God, He's not controlling the world. And if He's controlling the world, He's not involved in the world. He can do whatever He wants, but He's not separating between people. There is no good and bad. And final things, of course, He cannot do miracles, this God. So Paro was against all the concepts, all those concepts in 3 levels. He is not controlling the world, he's not involved. Second of all, maybe he's involved, but he's not recognizing that there is good people and there is bad people. And the third thing that Paro was against the believing of miracles. So the first group of plagues came to the world to teach Paro and to teach Egypt and to teach the Jewish people and to teach the world that God is controlling the world. This is the blood and the frog and the whatever, I don't remember. Fleas. And the fourth, fifth, and sixth want to show Paro that God seeing who is what. There is good and bad. The Jewish people will not get those. And the eighth, ninth, the seventh, 3, 4, 5. 1 second. No, 4, 5, 6. The seventh, eighth, 9, and 10 is to teach Paro that God can do miracles. The ice and fire in the same bowl, and I don't remember anything that we said before. Our graspers and the dark. It's unnatural. The dark was unnatural, of course. And this was not only teaching to Paro and to the world, that about knowledge. It's not only about knowledge. Now we understand it's much more deep than that. What happened in Matan Torah is not story of knowledge. Because the knowledge of the Torah, the concept of the Torah, many people knew before. The concept of Matan Torah is connection, is unite. The world is one with spirituality. We control here everything. And this concept of the connection between God and the world started in the 10 plagues. So it was not only a story of punishment, it was not a story about miracles, it's a story about connection, that God wants that the world will understand His powers before He revealing Himself in the world. Until now I am understandable? Yes? Now I want a little bit to continue the story from Matan Torah. This is the story until Matan Torah. We need to understand that the story continuing. What does that mean? We're saying that before Matan Torah, God wanted to reveal His powers in the world, that this is preparation of the world itself to understand that there is God in the world. And He is going to do something great to connect the world with Him. That was a preparation. The story continued. The Jewish people went to the promised land. And in the promised land, in the first time, there is a group of people serving God in the physical world. That was for 1,000 years. After that, in the last 2,000 years, the story continued. Jewish people not only living in one place, the word of God spreading all over the world, and the Jewish people building communities and building cities and becoming ministers and becoming writers and becoming doctors. And why? This is all one process of the connection and the unity, or I don't know how to call it, I don't know how you say it, not unation of unity of the world with God, the world and God becoming one. How come? By spreading the word. And by the way, the Rambam telling us that this is also the explanations of the nations, two great big nations that we have in the last 2021 years. Yes? That they also spreading the word of God. 2,000 years before, now, you came to one in the street and you're telling him, you know that in the end Mashiach will come. So he would not understand what you mean. And today you understand. People will understand what you're talking about. It's all process, one process that will bring us to the end of the days. And again, we can also explain about technologic. It's the same idea. That's why the technologic revealing itself in the last few hundred years. It's all one process to unite the world with God. For example, I'm sitting here and I'm giving a speech and in the same seconds, people outside the country, all over the world can see. It's all the world becoming one. It's also part of this preparation. This I wanted to mention, by the way, that we will understand that it's not only thing, the process is still going on. And the world and God is one. And we just need to see it. Actually, in Matan Torah, it was the only time that they saw it. That was so special also about Matan Torah. They saw it. Everybody saw it. Yeah, this is the point of today. Point of the day is what means the process of the 10 plagues. The process was a preparation of the world to the revelation that happened in Matan Torah, that God become, the ability to unite God with the world started in Matan Torah. Spirituality and physically. To connect them together, it started in Matan Torah. You understand the idea? Yeah? Okay, thank you.